network model is so like outdated these days.
Well, they're all 10 episodes, so it's not like
That's
there's
true.
a ton of work on these shows, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. They want to make 10
in
episodes
fact,
and then just release them all at once, yeah.
You know, so it's anyway, so it's an interesting time to have moved to LA to pursue writing, but that being said, you know, that's not going to last forever, and
Right.
you know, you just kind of do what you do, and you know, I've been very lucky in my career so far. Like every time I've kind of made a move, it's always turned out to be good.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not regretting it. It's just like one of those odd twists, like. You know, like, okay, well, I'm going to move out here and I'm going to make this happen. And then it's kind of like, nah.
That's just on hold for a month or two, maybe. Right?
What's that?
I say it's just going to be on a hold for a month or two.
It'll probably be 6 months, but, you know.
Oh, boy.
Well, keep writing. Your stuff will be so much better by the time you you finish it. Yeah, your packet will be thick and it'll be solid. I guess.
Listen, I'm not in the guilds. I don't have a wife and kids that depend on me to like do this for a living. Like I'm in a good position.
Yeah.
You know, I'm certainly not going to complain about it. And you know, it's like it's also, you know, it's like you ever read about the Hindu god Ganesh, right?
Yeah.
And
Totally.
his main job is to like remove obstacles from people's way, or to put obstacles in their way to slow them down and check them a little bit. And so that's just what I tell myself is like, okay, well, it's just an obstacle that's been put in my way temporarily to slow me down, so that when things happen, they'll happen at the right time for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it for sure. I appreciate that.
Man, you get so spiritual when you move out here. It's fucking ridiculous.
You got off the plane.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I went out to the beach a couple weeks ago just to kind of like clear my head and meditate a bit, and I was sitting on the beach, and you know, it's like this beautiful sunset, and it was the perfect temperature, and right as the sun was setting, like I saw dolphins playing in the distance, and then a seal kind of came up to the beach and like almost to, like, you know, like in the surf.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just hung out in the surf and looked at people for a while. And I was like, man, you know, how can you sit here and see this and experience this and not believe that there might be something bigger than yourself, like a god or something out there? And then I got on the train to get back into the city, and there's a dude who was going up and down the car asking everybody for 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, listen, it's just for food, it's not for anything else. You know, like I'm a native New Yorker, so as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay, it's definitely for something else. And then he sat down in front of me and shut up, and then he nodded out for 20 minutes. And then he got up and he started asking everybody for 50 cents again, and he was just like, it's just for food, not for anything else. I was like, there's just no God. There's just this.
One man undid all of that.
Oh no! No, Liam, there's a God. He just some people make bad decisions, and also I hear heroin's really tasty, so you know it's hard. You know, you like it.
You ever do it?
No.
You never did smack?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
What about cocaine? You ever do cocaine?
No, actually, I never did. Never.
You know, it's funny. I've never even smoked weed.
Yeah.
No. What? No.
Seriously.
Really?
Just kind of, yeah. It was just kind of a decision I came to, and I knew a lot of my friends from the age of 16 to 21 were these, or I would say 16 to 19, were these like burnouts and potheads and wake and bakers, and it became very easy to not smoke weed when you hang out with guys like that.
Yeah.
Because there's just a point where it's just like, well, I don't want that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, well, there's a lot in the there's a lot of pot smoking in the art star scene for sure. I'm surprised you missed it there.
And
you never said you didn't get high from it.
Too.
He just didn't smoke it himself.
He just didn't smoke it himself, right?
Yeah,
he
might have been in the room. Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, but I never even really let myself get hotboxed, you know? Like,
yeah.
Especially in the art star scene, man. That was like, I don't know. That was just like, I was there to do something. And I feel like there were some people who went there, like you and myself and other people who went there because they wanted to do something, which was, you know, to perform and try this art or comedy or poetry or whatever. And then I think there were just some people who, like, wanted to hang out and have that artistic lifestyle without actually, you know, putting in the work or, you know, even really having an interest, which is fine, actually. I mean, I'm not being judgmental. But, like, without actually doing the work of producing, like, you know, something beyond whatever they put together quickly, you know?
I hear you. You know, just the other day I was telling people, because I'll mention to some of my students, you know, because I don't do stand-up at all anymore, and they'll say to me, "Oh, have you ever done it?" And I said, "Yeah, I did it for years, you know, in New York City," but I felt like in that crowd it was supportive that was so intense that I actually didn't put in that much effort to writing good jokes because I didn't need to. Right. All I did was go up there and be like, "You guys like me, right?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, we like you." And then that was all I needed, was that validation in that moment. And so I kind of stopped doing stand-up because I was like, I don't know if that's really what... I don't want that kind of art. I kind of want it to be harder. I want it to be something I have to work on. And so now I produce a sketch show, like a monthly sketch show, and you know, write tons of stuff. And sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't. And I've been doing it for 6 years now, and like just the lessons of sometimes we try stuff, and the audience is like, "No, that's not funny at all." And we're like, okay, well, we learned that lesson. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes we do stuff and we think, who knows if everyone's going to like this? And the audience is like, that's genius. And we're like, oh, okay, great. So, you know, I like the effort.
That's the trap. That's one of the reasons I had to kind of say goodbye to that world. That was the trap I was falling into. The same thing you're talking about, where it's just like, you know, I would do a bit there and it would kill. Then I would do it anywhere else and it would die. And it's like I would take it very personally when something didn't go well because I thought I was right. I get really mad at audiences. But yeah, it took a long time for me to, like, it took about 7 years for me to really kick the training wheels off. And you know, and I mean, which is fine. It's like actually a really good amount of time to, like, get started and develop it and find your voice. But you know, there is just a point where you have to fail a lot.
Yeah. And
the other thing was, so, like, speaking to your point also, like, and no offense if this was something you would do, but I would go and suddenly everyone, like, 6 times a night at least, there'd be someone who would do like a minute or two that they prepared, and then they, okay, anyone have any questions?
Oh no, I hate that shit.
And then, like, basically do like an open mic talk back.
No.
And it was just like, well, you know, like, okay, well, you know, another thing you can do that's like this is hanging out with your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hated
you don't have to
that.
pay $3 to do it.
Yeah. No. Oh, man. Yeah. Anybody have any questions is my least favorite. People do that now. I've seen that at open mics here in town. And Austin is a ripe town for stand-up right now. I'd love for you to come because, just to see it. Just to see, I mean, at any given night, there's 3 or 4 open mics all over town, 7 nights a week, and there's hundreds of stand-ups that are doing well. There was a big deluge that just left to move to LA. You probably met half of them. And
oh yeah, I did.
Actually,
and then, no joke.
There's a ton. But you know, there's still hundreds here, you know, and yet somehow at an open mic I'll still hear that bullshit. That, like, okay, well, that's all the jokes I have. Does anybody have any questions? It's like, you've lost your time. It's over now.
You know, it's funny. When I started doing stand-up in the mid-'90s, it was not cool. And Like, the really cool people would look down on you if you were just, like, doing stand-up, and if that was, like, a career you wanted. Because it's just, like, the boom was over, and people kind of only knew stand-up comedy from Evening at the Improv and other TV shows. And now I feel like saying I'm doing stand-up comedy is like people who said they were forming a band in the 60s, you know, like, just like, well, I want to do something, and I want to do something cool, and I want to perform, and I want to maybe become rich and famous off of it. So I see some people who are really, like, for whom it's a calling. And you see those guys, and you're like, okay, well, good or bad, they're going to stick with this for a while, and they have a lot of passion for it. And I think there's, like, a good amount of people who just do it because it's a fun way to hang out. Like, if you're single, it can be a good way to, like, meet people, you know, like, or, you know, just kind of, like, you see someone do it, and you're like, well, that looks easier, you know, than being an accountant, or, you know, like, being a sitcom writer looks easier than going to law school, and I think you can make more money at it, so why not? And, you know, and so it's a huge deluge. It's, like, crazy the amount of people who want to do stand-up comedy are in New York and LA and I guess Austin and Chicago and Portland and all these places. And it's really interesting because it's something obviously that can't sustain itself.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's just not an audience for that many stand-up comedians of all levels.
Yeah.
So you know, and it used to also be a very self-selecting field. Like, there's nothing more crushing than doing a shitty open mic. I'm sorry, there is, which is doing 5 in a row.
Oh man, and then doing a book show and it bombing equally as well. Oh man.
I mean, so it's like I would definitely want to go down to Austin and check it out. And I mean, the thing is, the comedy club there is, I mean, it's a very high level comedy club, and so, you know, it's like, as good as my credits are, that, you know, it's like they kind of have their pick of the best comics in the country to choose from. And I'm not saying I'm not one of the best comics. I'm just saying, like, I understand, like, if you're going to pick between, I can't even think who performs there or me, you're going to pick someone who's, like, famous and on a TV show or something. I mean, that's just the way it is. I certainly get it. So it's kind of like one of the reasons why I was talking to you about that theater, was I was like, well, if I can make enough money, like, to me, it's not about really making a ton of money. It's about making enough money to cover my expenses.
Yeah.
You know, to get there and then to get to the next city. So, you know, maybe stay a few days and see a bit of Austin, not during the festival.
Yeah.
You know.
That being said, the not during the festival time is like a 2-minute window.
Which festival? Yeah.
It happens. It's not right now. There's definitely we're right now in the sweet week between South by Southwest and Moon Tower Comedy Festival. That's a good festival, by the way. But that's another one that's like you can't, like, apply to it. Like, with South by, you apply to be at the festival, whereas Moon Tower, there's no application. They just call you or they don't. I found that out recently from some people that were, like, pretty high level, and I was like, well, why don't you guys do it? And they're like, yeah, they didn't ask us. And I was like, oh, sorry. Foot in mouth.
I'm not dying to do festivals. I
Sure.
mean, like, I should be.
Eh.
Like, you know, I really, no, I mean, it's like, it's a good place to be seen, and it's good for your career and stuff like that, but it's just kind of, like, to me, it's always just seemed like a good way for, and I'm not saying Moon Tower's like this, because it's, like, each festival is different, but it just seems like a good way for a handful of people to make a living, and then for comedians to really not get paid. To, like, to fill a theater.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not talking about any festivals in particular, just a couple maybe I've noticed.
Yeah, plus, I mean, if your trajectory that you have in your mind is, you know, to work on writing and to try to, like, get a packet of spec scripts and try to focus your energy on